Hey guys, another video. This time an impressions video. Not really a review because of the game in question. That's Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, that classic JRPG that I think for 90% of JRPG fans is the game that gets them into the genre. And it's a game I've never played, as with pretty much every Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy 5 and 6 I played pretty recently. And I don't know, 7 seemed like the one I wanted to play next. That's the most famous game in the series. I had to see what the fuss was all about. Did I like it? Did I enjoy it? Yes, it's a great game. What can I say? Like everybody that's obsessed with this game, I can definitely see why people are so obsessed with it and why still to this day people have this adoration for this game. Do I think it's perfect? No, definitely not. There are definitely some things I don't like about it. It's definitely not a perfect game. I'll get into that later, but this is probably going to be a shorter impressions video. Like, I'm not going to review this game. Everyone knows how, like, Final Fantasy VII plays and what it involves. But just kind of like what I thought of the game, what I liked, what I didn't. Now the story. I'll start with the story. I really enjoyed the storyline. I don't know if the storyline in this game is supposed to be one of the better ones in the series, but I really liked it. The pacing, I have to say, in this game, at least on the first two discs, is amazing. Like, it's really just quick, and the twists come at a regular pace. It was very involving too. I thought. Now at disc 3 is when I thought the storyline kind of took a weird turn. It kind of ends very abruptly, and the ending was very. I don't know. I felt like the ending there should have been more to it. I guess I have to play like Crisis Core and watch like Advent Children or something to get kind of more story. But I don't know. I wasn't too big on the ending. I don't know. It felt the third disc felt like rushed to me. I don't know. It was one of those things where at the time I got to it, that final dungeon. When I was going through it, I didn't even know it was the final dungeon until I was at like the second form of the final boss, and I was like, "Wait a sec, this is the final boss, isn't it?" And sure enough, it was. I just beat the game. 33 hours in, only took me 33 hours to beat this game, and I didn't feel like I rushed it. I didn't know this game was that short. I did quite a bit of optional stuff towards the end of disc 2, so I don't know. I guess it was shorter than I thought, but that I don't know. It felt a bit rushed towards the end. I gotta say, but there's some definite interesting twists with Cloud. His whole backstory that I thought was really gripping, and I wasn't expecting a lot of it. And I like the themes the story tackles too. Obviously some parts of it are still cliche. You've got the save the world type stuff thrown in there, but overall, I really enjoyed the storyline. Of course, you have that famous death, Aerith's death, or is it Aerith? I don't know. I hear people say Aerith or Aerith. I don't know what it is. Someone tell me that. I'll call her Aerith. That's what it was in the game. But her death, I was surprised. It did affect me, and I can definitely see why it was such a huge moment back in the day. Because the amount of character development they give her through that first like disc, it's pretty. They really make you care about her and the relationship between her and Cloud, and then all of a sudden she's gone, and what like happens after that, and how she's kind of involved with the storyline. I really like how the storyline ties in with everything, like how Sephiroth is a part of that storyline, which, by the way, Sephiroth, a really awesome villain. I like a lot of his backstory and just his motives. I thought it made for a very interesting antagonist. That said, some of that stuff, like some of the story stuff, was hidden away, like optional stuff. Like I got the two secret characters, Vincent and what is her, Yuffie, I think. Like I didn't use her that much. I didn't really get much of a story from her, but I used Vincent throughout the entire game after I got him. And there's some story stuff when you go get him that honestly adds quite a lot to the. It makes a lot of adds a lot of sense to the story that you might not pick up on. And I was kind of surprised by that because I can see some people missing Vincent. I know I almost did. I got very frustrated about that safe, figuring out what the combination was. I almost actually gave up at that part, but I don't know. The story, some of it can be confusing at times. There's probably still stuff that I don't quite understand with it. But it is one of those games I'd like to kind of replay, but I think at this point I gotta watch Advent Children and play Crisis Core to get more out of it. But I really like the characters. I like the development given to them. Some had more development more than others, but each character had their own kind of flaws. Like none of the characters were perfect. They all had nice arcs to them. I love Sid. Like Sid's one of my favorite characters in this game. In fact, all the characters I really like. Just some really great stuff there. A lot of humor to the game I wasn't expecting. I like all the kind of humor that they added in. And honestly, I played Final Fantasy VI was the first game I played, and then I played 5. This is my favorite Final Fantasy so far. I like it more than 6, which I know that's gonna be a lot of people are gonna go, oh, blasphemy, that's crazy. But as someone that doesn't have nostalgia for 7 or 6, I don't know, 7 just seemed like the better game to me. I'll go over other reasons why, but the story I just found myself really invested in, even though I think it lost me a bit towards the end, but and the ending itself I'm not too big on, but that, like, those first 2 discs, like, the story was just really excellent, and all the characters I really love in this game. The music. The music is fantastic in this game. I wasn't expecting the music to be that great. I mean, of course, the Final Fantasy games are known for their amazing music, but I don't know why I just wasn't expecting great music, but oh man, there are some amazing tracks in here. In fact, I don't think there's a weak song I heard on here. It's not the most amazing soundtrack I've ever heard, although I do like it, again, better than Final Fantasy VI's soundtrack, which a lot of people are also going to say that's crazy, but I don't know, again, just my opinion, but I don't know, it just, there's a lot of variety to the songs in this game. Like there's some like techno punk sounding tracks and some very like subdued, like sad songs, and you've got like these epic battle themes, and that one song that plays during Sephiroth's third form, like the angel, one winged angel. I think that's what the song's called. That song was amazing. I love that song. But yeah, the soundtrack's really good. A lot of catchy songs. Really great stuff. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say about the humor too, the story. One part was just really odd to me towards the beginning of the game. Don Corneo, I think his name was. His mansion, that whole part of the game I thought was hilarious. Like, came out of nowhere, and I just wasn't expecting it. And that's what I kind of like, those humorous parts, because that didn't really add to the story at all, but it was a nice like detour from the main storyline. It was really funny. I thought that was kind of interesting how they threw that in there. But yeah, music fantastic, visuals. Okay, here's where one of my main complaints with this game lies, and it's not because the graphics are bad and the graphics are bad, I can't stand them. It affects the gameplay in a way, and that's where I have the problem. Character models, very blocky, weird, like super deformed, like the characters' arms are really tiny, and I don't know, the character models are very ugly to look at, I gotta say. That didn't bother me so much though. It was more the pre-rendered backgrounds. They look pretty good, but the way the environments work, I found myself getting stuck on geometry and not knowing where my character was, because sometimes your character can be so tiny on the screen, and it's hard to tell what parts of the environments you can walk through or walk on. And I found myself getting like really frustrated with that a lot. Like, it took me a lot longer to get through certain dungeons in the game because I didn't know I could walk through this one area on this pre-rendered background. I don't know, added a lot of confusion, and that's my main complaint with the visuals. I think a remake, I don't know if they're ever going to do one, but I think that would be where the big fix would be with the visuals. This game with some amazing visuals would be pretty awesome. But yeah, the visuals are probably the most dated aspect of Final Fantasy VII. It's everything else that I think still holds up really well. The gameplay, finally we'll get to the gameplay here. I really like it, man. What the materia system, I guess that's the big thing with this game, right? I love the materia system. I think there's a lot of customization there. You kind of create, like, the characters have their own personalities, obviously, but you kind of create their own jobs, essentially, with the materia system, because you can equip, like, if you don't want a character to be a full-on magic character, you just don't put too many magic materials on them, right? So, I don't know, I found that kind of fun, kind of creating my own characters in that way. It could be said that the characters lose some individuality because, the materia system makes every character feel the same. I mean, you can just take all your materials off one character, add them to another, and they have the same abilities and whatnot. But that's where the limit breaks come in, right? And that's where I found like that's how I picked my characters, which ones I wanted, depending on what limit breaks I liked. Which I like that system too. You know, rewarding you and giving you like massive attacks if you're being demolished by the enemies. The battle system just always remained fun to me. I had really had a great time with it. The game's not hard. I gotta say, it's a very easy game. I think I died once the entire game. There's a Hydra boss where like one of his heads is weak to ice and one's weak to fire. I don't know why, but maybe I was underleveled for where he was in the game, but he demolished me the first time, and then the second time I got pretty lucky beating him. But the final boss, Sephiroth, very easy. I wasn't expecting him to be so easy. The summons I thought were really interesting. Back in the day, they must have been really impressive. They're very long. I wish you could skip them. Like there's the Sephiroth's supernova summon. I think it's a summon at the end of the final fight. Like that was like a 2-minute attack, and you had to wait and watch it as all these planets are getting destroyed. And I was just like, holy shit, this is ridiculous. And of course, then it like gives you all these status effects, and all my guys are like at like 100 HP, and I was like, oh shit, oh shit. Very epic final fight, even though it was piss easy. The pacing, like I said earlier, not only for the story, but the gameplay is really good. Like, the world map is really fun to explore. Tons of optional stuff in this game. I didn't do a lot of it, though I did get some of the ultimate weapons, some of the final limit breaks for some of the characters. I didn't kill the Ruby weapon or the Emerald weapon, obviously. I didn't even fight the Ruby weapon. I don't even know where that is. The Emerald weapon I fought before even taking on like the final boss. Like, it was at the end of Disc 2, and I was like, oh, what's this? I'll run into this guy underwater there. And then, of course, I go in. I was like level 40-ish, and then it demolishes my team like instantly. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight that. No, I saw like a 20-minute time limit. I don't know. I guess for those enemies, you gotta be at the highest level to kill them. I don't know, maybe. One thing I will say, I guess there's a lot of missables in this game. Like 100%ing this game, I gotta say, would be a pain in the ass for those that you did that back in the day. I couldn't see myself doing that. But yeah, it's the random encounter rate wasn't that bad. I was expecting it to be like terrible, but it's not that bad. I never lost my patience with that. Some of the save points are a bit unforgiving, I'll say. Like the last dungeon in particular, they don't give you a save point. Like, they give you an item that you can use to put a save point down. And I used that fairly early, and I probably should have waited. So it was a long trek to the final boss. If I had died at the final boss, I would have been really pissed off. And early in the game, I find, too, save points are kind of far between. So I had to play in quite long sessions. So it definitely isn't respectful of your time. But I don't know, the gameplay, just really fun. I guess I kind of even prefer it to Final Fantasy VI in a way, because that had the World of Ruin, right? And that was... I don't really like the World of Ruin and how it's set up. You know how you can, like, you have this whole world open to you and you can do whatever you want, and you're not on a specific path. You don't have to go to one location, then go to this specific one next, and then the other, like Final Fantasy VII, where it's just kind of like a linear progression, yet you can tackle all this optional stuff if you want to at any time. I just kind of prefer the flow of the game of FF7 more than FF6. It's just a personal preference thing. The World of Ruin in FF6, I love that from like a storyline perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, eh. And then, of course, like the fact that you had to split up your team at Kefka's Tower, like that really drove me nuts. And Final Fantasy VII, you never have to split up your team. Well, you do in various points, but because of the materia system, none of your characters are going to be under-leveled compared to others, right? So I don't know. It was just a really fun game. I was always engaged, and it's actually, I was quite addicted to it too. I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. But I think that's about covers it. Like I said, it's a great game. I mean, I have my minor complaints with it. Oh, the mini games. That's my other complaint. They're kind of shitty, I thought. Like, the snowboarding minigame I thought controlled awful, and it was just, I don't know, all the minigames just seemed really tacked on, and they weren't very fun to me. I know lots of people love the chocobo racing and breeding. Granted, I didn't do that kind of stuff. I did like the one race, and that was it, because that's just not really for me, all that kind of optional stuff. But I know a lot of people have sunk in a lot of hours into that stuff, but it's mainly like the snowboarding stuff, like the submarine part, and I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of those. Like, they didn't annoy me or anything like that. I just didn't really care for them. But yeah, overall, Great game, I gotta say. I really loved it. It's my favorite Final Fantasy so far. Well, it probably won't be my favorite after I've played them all, but who knows? Maybe. What game am I playing next? I had a few recommendations on my channel to play Dragon Quest VIII, and that's a game I've always been wanting to play. And you know what? I thought, yeah, let's go dive into Dragon Quest VIII, and that's what I've been playing. I'm about 3 hours in right now, and I gotta say I'm really loving it. Gorgeous visuals in this game. It started out a bit rough, like the enemies were really destroying me, but I just had to level up a bit, and now I'm in a pretty good spot. I will say though, if anyone has any tips or tricks or something for me, definitely let me know. I know, like, I don't know if like the skill points, like each character gets like their own, like each character has like skill points they can put into weapon. So now I'm putting all my points into one weapon group. I don't know if that's a gooder idea or a bad idea. Someone let me know. I know there's that bottom skill that's not a weapon skill. I'm putting points into those, but if it's a bad idea, like if I should be kind of distributing my points evenly between weapon classes, let me know. But I don't know. I figure like if I'm just gonna be, I might as well just use like one type of weapon, especially if that I keep putting skill points into that. It's just gonna keep getting stronger. But yeah, that's what I'm playing. I've heard it's a long ass game, so it's probably gonna be a while till I beat it. Um, but I need a long game to last me until Bravely Default comes out here in February. So yeah, yeah, that will do it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.